Well, hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 105. We're going to be doing another Bob Dylan misheard song lyric, and it's going to be his song Knockin' on Heaven's Door. The misheard song lyric is Knock, knock, knocking on Kevin's door. And the correct lyrics is Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. So this is a shout out to my friend Ivan for this week's misheard song lyric from the legendary Bob Dylan. He actually told me about it when we all went to our 4th of July cabin fun getaway, and he said, for years I thought this is what it was. So shout out to you, Ivan. Wanted to go through this episode for your misheard song lyric. And especially to all the Kevins in the world who are probably wondering too. Is it about that? Is it about my door? So we'll talk more about that, about Bob Dylan again, some amazing things I didn't even know about this song, all the covers, so much to go through. So let's begin. So as you remember, we did a misheard song lyric with Bob Dylan back on season 2 on episode 87, where we've had people say that they've heard the ants are my friend blowing in the wind. So now we're doing a second misheard song lyric on Bob Dylan on his Knockin' on Heaven's Door. So for those of you who don't know, he is an American singer-songwriter, prolific, so to speak. And with this misheard song lyric episode this week, there are many twists and turns. So I want to dig into the song and again explain to you all what I found out. So let's first start with who is Bob Dylan. So he is definitely known for his distinct singing voice. That is sometimes hard to understand, so perfect for this show. He was born Robert Allen Zimmerman back on May 24th, 1941. And like I said earlier, he's an American singer-songwriter, author, visual artist, and also regarded as one of the greatest songwriters of all time. And he is also a major fixture in popular culture for more than 50 years. And again, lots of lyrics are usually around the range of political, social, philosophical, literary influences, and what people said defying a lot of the pop music conventions that we're used to and appealing to the burgeoning counterculture. And since 1994, this I did not know, Dylan had published 8 books of drawings and paintings, and his work has been exhibited in major art galleries around the world. He has also sold more than 100 million records, making him one of the best-selling music artists of all time. He's received numerous awards, including the Presidential Medal of Freedom, 10 Grammy Awards, a Golden Globe Award, and Academy Award. He, of course, no surprise, was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And probably one of the biggest ones that maybe you don't know is he won a Pulitzer Prize board in 2008. He won a Pulitzer Prize. Actually, he was awarded by the Pulitzer Prize Board in 2008 a special citation for his profound impact on popular music and American culture, marked by lyrical compositions of extraordinary poetic power. And then in 2016, Dylan was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for having created new poetic expressions with the great American song tradition. Wow. Okay, so Knockin' on Heaven's Door was written for the soundtrack of the 1973 film Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Did not know that. The movie, or actually the song, was released as a single 2 months after the film's premiere, and it became a worldwide hit, reaching the top 10 in several countries. This is what I found in the internet. Described by Dylan biographer Clinton Halen as an exercise in splendid simplicity, the song features really 2 short verses, the lyrics of which comment directly on the scene in the film for which it was written, the death of the frontier lawman played by actor Slim Pickens, who refers to his wife, played by Katie Gerardo, as Mama. So that's where this, I guess, song was referenced in the movie. Well, let's talk about the movie, because I'm like, okay, it was around when I was just 1 year old. What was it about? So it's called Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. It was a 1973 American Western directed by Sam Peckinpah, written by Rudy Wurlitzer, and starring a younger James Coburn, Kris Kristoferson, many others, as well as, Jason Robards and Bob Dylan. The film is about an aging Pat Garrett, played by Coburn, hired as a lawman by a group of wealthy New Mexico cattle barons to bring down his old friend Billy the Kid, played by a really young Kris Kristoferson. Dylan composed the score and songs for the film, most notably the Knockin' on Heaven's Door, which was released as his on its soundtrack album the same year. Like I said, it was actually, the film was filmed in Durango, Mexico, and actually was nominated for 2 BAFTA awards for film music by Dylan and Most Promising Newcomer Kristoferson. It was also nominated for a Grammy Award for Album of Best Original Score for Dylan. And then the film was noted for behind-the-scenes battles between Peckinpah, the director, and studio Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. And what was interesting, what I found was after the movie was completed, the film was actually taken away from Peckinpah and re-edited and shown in a shorter version that was released to the theaters. And most of the cast and crew of the movie kind of disowned it. The previous version that Peckinpah had was actually released in video in 1988, leading to what many critics reevaluation hailing as a mistreated classic and one of the era's best films. It's ranked 126 of the Empire magazine's list of the 500 greatest movies of all time. Now I'm intrigued. I have to watch it. So the song became one of Dylan's most popular, I would agree, and most covered post-1960s compositions, spawning several covers, including Eric Clapton, Guns N' Roses, and many more. Now, the Eric Clapton cover is what I know. It came out in January of 1975. He actually played along on Arthur Lewis's recording of Knockin' on Heaven's Door, which he did in more of a reggae style. I guess that works, yeah? After the recording session with Lewis, Clapton recorded his own version of the song, which was released as a single in August of 1975, 2 weeks after the Louis' version. Did you know that Clapton's version made it to number 38 on the UK charts, but the single was less successful in the US, where it failed to chart on the Billboard Hot 100. Although in the US it did reach number 109 on Cashbox's Looking Ahead chart. And then he being Eric Clapton, included this cover to his 1996 box set, Crossroads 2, Live in the 70s, featuring a performance of the song recorded in London back in April of 1977. There was also performances of the song included on the Journeyman 1990 and the One More Car, One More Rider 2003 World Tours. Several Clapton compilation albums also feature the song. So that's the version I knew. I didn't even know that Bob Dylan wrote it until doing this episode. I just assumed it was an Eric Clapton original. Then years later, in 1987, I was in my teens, Guns N' Roses did their version. It's, again, hard rock band Guns N' Roses. They performed it. They did a live version of the song that was released on their 12-inch single of Welcome to the Jungle the same year. They also recorded and released a studio version in 1990 for the soundtrack of the Tom Cruise film Days of Thunder that reached number 18 on the US Billboard Album Rock Tracks chart and number 56 on Canada's RPM Top Singles chart. And then this version was slightly modified for the band's 1991 album Use Your Illusion 2, discarding the responses in the second verse. And then released as the second single from the album, it reached number 2 in the UK singles chart and the New Zealand singles chart, and did pretty much good elsewhere in the country, actually in the world. The single topped the charts of Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, and it was the best-selling song of 1992 in the latter country. And then in Ireland, where the song also reached number 1, it became Guns N' Roses' third and to date last number 1 single, as well as their 9th consecutive top 5 hit. Their performance of the song, which they did at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in 1992, was used as a B-side for the single release and was included on their live Era 87 and 93 album and released in 1999. Another version was released on the video using Use Your Illusion World Tour 1992 in Tokyo 2. The music video was a version of the song was directed by Andy Moorhan. So lots. I kind of remember the Guns N' Roses, but really the Eric Clapton was the one I remember. Now, remember I alluded to that there was also other covers? Well, let me just list you the names of other artists that covered this particular song of Dylan. So it supposedly says in the internet that this song has been covered over 150 times by different artists, including Neil Young, Lana Del Rey, not my favorite, sorry, I know somebody might love her, Nick Cave, Patti Smith, Paul Simon, Bono, Warren Zevon, Cat Power, Roger Waters, Jerry Garcia, Avril Lavigne, Wyclef Jean, Nina Hagen, Mudge Cratch and Lowe. Just many names to name a few. And the one thing that I thought was interesting were 2 different variations of it. Not only the covers, but One was a sampled version of it. So a gal named Gabrielle took the sampling of that song and for her single Rise in 2000. The interesting thing about that is it was said that Dylan liked Rise so much that he actually allowed Gabrielle to use the sample for free. Amazing. While receiving a co-writer credit for providing the song's chord progression and vocal sample. Take a listen. I found it on YouTube. It does sound great with his Knockin' on Heaven's Door as the background and her with different lyrics. And then another version of it, sad, but also something that, of course, shows how compassionate Mr. Dylan is on the Dunblane tribute version of it. So in 1996, Dylan gave his consent to Scottish musician Ted Christopher, who wrote a new version of Knock Knock, Knockin' on Heaven's Door in memory of the school children and teacher killed in the Dunblane school massacre. So I checked it out on the internet because I did not remember that, unfortunately. And what happened was that the Dunblane massacre took place at Dunblane Primary School near Stirling, Scotland, in the UK, back on March 13th, 1996. It's when a Thomas Hamilton shot dead 16 students and one teacher and injured 15 others and then killed himself. It remains the deadliest mass shooting in British history, and there was much public debate about the killing centered, of course, on gun control laws, including public petitions for the banning of private ownership of handguns and an official inquiry which produced the 1996 Cullen Report. And in response to that debate, 2 new firearm laws were passed which outlawed the private ownership of most handguns in the UK. So wow, so this song was used with an additional new verse that was added by this Ted Christopher. And this has been, according to some sources, one of the few times Dylan actually officially authorized anybody to add or change the lyrics to one of his songs. So again, it shows the compassion of, yes, not only can you use my song, but also add to it. And this version of the song featured the children from the village singing the chorus with the guitarist and producer of Dylan's album Infidels in 1983 by Mark Knopfler, you guessed it, of Dire Straits, which I did in episode 28, Money for Nothing, Misheard song, was released on December 9th in the UK and reached #1 on the UK and Scottish singles charts, as well as #6 in Iceland and Ireland. And all the proceeds went to the charities for the children. And the song was featured on the compilation album Hits 97, where all royalties from the song were given to 3 charities. So, whoa, lots of stuff about Knockin' on Heaven's Door. Not only all the covers, but also, Mr. Dylan's compassion of letting his song be used to help with the healing for the Dunblane tribute. Also giving Gabrielle, hey, I just put me as co-writer. You don't have to, use the sample. You can use the sample, but you don't have to pay for it. And all the covers like the Eric Clapton Guns N' Roses. So hopefully you guys learned a lot. I did. Thank you, Ivan, for singing the song in front of me when we all went out for our 4th of July weekend. That was so fun. And we had a giggle on Kevin's door. Oh, Kevin. If you have any great suggestions like Ivan, let us know. You can find us any way you know how, by email or by any of our social media sites. So there's many. And hopefully you'll have a good rest of your week and keep singing those songs wrong. Bye!